It's just so beautiful that I just need to film this again, because you barely get this kind of view. And also, it's not cold, it's not windy, it's like the perfect conditions. Those conditions you may ask for. Hey guys, what's up? Nordin here again. Today I want to continue yesterday's topic when we talked about how to start with mountaineering, how to start exercising your body, and how you get a good baseline and foundation for mountaineering so you can actually start mountaineering. And today I want to talk about how you can do a little bit of more advanced mountaineering. Let's say you're already climbing more advanced, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 mountains. You feel comfortable scrambling, you have quite good control and balance when you're in the mountains. You feel comfortable, and but you're looking over to those high 3,000 meter mountains, to the 4,000ers and 5,000ers. You're looking to the snow-covered mountains, to the mountains with the glaciers and the icy snow caps. And yeah, if that is what you desire, or for example you want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro or one of the 7 summits, yeah, I guess then this video is for you, and I will try to explain a little bit how you can do it, how you can advance your mountaineering, and how you can get into higher mountaineering, or maybe even, I don't know, can you call it high altitude mountaineering? Maybe I would call it higher altitude mountaineering. So obviously when the higher you get into the mountains, the dog is going crazy. The thinner the air gets, the colder it gets. There's more wind, obviously more snow, more ice, less vegetation, no trees, no plants, no nothing, only rocks and gravel and ice and snow. This is basically what is left after you leave the 3,500 meter mark and ascend even higher. So in order to survive up there in the cold temperatures and in the snow and in the ice, we need special skills and special equipment. So there's quite a lot of them. First of all, to get to these mountains or to walk on these mountains, you usually have to go on a glacier or cross a glacier and deal with snow masses. So for this particular reason, it's quite important that you learn how to deal with crampons and ice axes. For those of you that don't know what crampons are the spikes that you can attach to your boots, and then you have more grip and more control on the ice and on the glacier. And an ice axe, of course, there are different forms and varieties of ice axes, but there are dry tools for technical ice climbing and mixed rock ice climbing, and there's just a normal ice axe that helps you secure yourself when you go up, let's say, a snow-covered mountain. And yeah, you need to learn how to use these items, how to move with this equipment. So for that, I would recommend that you do some kind of glacier course. Again, there are a lot of alpine clubs or people that can explain you, groups that can explain you, but mostly I would really advise ask a professional who really knows what they're doing. They can teach you the basics in a very, very, very correct way, because up there, especially in the snow, in the ice, with glaciers and crevasses and avalanches, it's very, very dangerous up there. It's very, very risky, and the chances of getting injured, to have an accident, or to fall into a crevasse, to slip and fall and die, are significantly higher than in the lower mountains. So therefore, don't take it lightly. If you can, go look for a professional and see how it's done. Or if you don't want to go with a professional, ask a professional or ask a guide. There's a different way I can also explain you. But first of all, I will talk about going with a guide or a professional course. So usually most alpine clubs, they organize courses like ice climbing courses, crevasse courses, avalanche courses, and belaying courses. And I would highly recommend you take one of those courses before you go into the snow, into the ice. This is what I did. I remember when I wanted to climb my very first 4,000 meter mountain, and I thought about how I can move safely in the snow, in the ice. I went to the German Alpine Club, the DAV, the Deutsche Alpenverein. I was looking for a ice climbing beginner course, a glacier course, I think it was called, and I joined that course. And it was basically 4 days in Switzerland. We started in Germany, drove with the car over to Switzerland to one of the higher 3,000 mountains, and we went to the glacier, the Moderatsch Glacier, and we went to the bottom of the glacier, and we trained the first basics there. So what they will teach you there is how to put on crampons correctly, how to fix them to your shoes, and how to walk with crampons. And they will teach you what is necessary, what are the small details to take care of, how to actually fix your crampons that you don't lose them, that they are tight enough, how you fix the loose end of your crampon so they don't lose. And you don't lose them when you're moving on the glacier, because what can happen while you're moving, your shoe is still having some kind of, room to wiggle, and it can happen that you lose your crampon. And this is like a nightmare, a chaos scenario. If you are in an ice wall or on a glacier and you lose your crampon and it falls down the wall, this could be super dramatic, and it's hard to get down from the mountain, or you need a helicopter rescue or something, and let's try to avoid that. So therefore, they will teach you how to fix the crampons to your boots and how to actually walk in them, because a very, very, very common thing that happens if you walk on crampons the first time, we are used to have our feet quite close to each other when we're walking, but actually when you're walking with crampons, you have to kind of spread your feet a little bit and walk like a cowboy, okay? Even though sometimes the path is narrow and you don't have a lot of space. But what actually happens is the spikes of the crampons often get stuck in your trousers, for example. You slit off your open your trousers, or you get stuck or entangled with your own feet and the other crampon, and then you trip or slip and you fall over your own feet. So this is the first thing to learn walking with the crampon, to have the legs quite open a little bit and walk a little bit like John Wayne if you have the space. And and this is theoretical. When I just tell you, you actually have to feel and see and do it, and you have to stumble a few times across your own feet, or maybe even destroy some of your trousers, how I did it, for example, in order to actually learn, okay, I really need to make sure to walk carefully and not to slit my own trousers open. So this is important, and that's what they teach you there, how to walk with crampons. And then just have an easy walk, maybe 1 day, 2 days. You walk on the glacier up and down, or you walk on a snowy hill with the crampons, and you just get used to it before you actually go into intense climbing and dangerous situations. So after they teach you how to use the crampons and how to walk in crampons, Your next tool that you will need all the time is the ice axe. Usually there's some people that have like sticks or poles, like skiing poles with them. You can use them. It's very, very helpful, especially in the snow. And if you sink into the snow, or if the snow is a little bit higher, the poles can actually help you. You know, it puts some of the pressure and intensity and the work that you have to do with your legs, it puts them to your shoulders, to your arms, to your back, your other upper body muscles basically, and you can actually really support your legs, and therefore you will be way more efficient with your energy and relieve your legs quite a bit, and yeah, quite substantial, and therefore poles are quite helpful. I'm not using poles too much, only if I'm really in deep snow or difficult terrain. I take out my poles and I use them, because otherwise, if you have sunken to your knees or to your hips in deep snow, then you definitely want skiing poles with you. But let's say it's not deep snow, it's maybe a little bit frozen, and you're walking on a wall, let's say, that is covered in snow and ice. You usually want to use an ice axe, and what you do is, the ice axe is usually in the hand where the mountain face is. Let's say it's going down the valley on the left side and the mountain face is on the right side, and you are traversing up the mountain. You always have the ice axe in that hand where the mountain is. Usually I have it between the fingers here, and I stick it to the snow whenever I go up, you know, step by step I go up. And then usually, you know, there's like you have to turn, you know, and then you switch, usually taking it to the left hand and then go up, you know. It usually goes like this, and you always have to switch constantly left and right. There's also some kind of how do you say, line that you can attach the ice axe to your hand. And again, a professional can teach you a very effective way how to do it, how to hold the ice axe, how to make sure that your fingers don't get cold when you hold the ice axe too long in one hand, obviously with a glove or cuff, but still your hands can get cold. And yeah, again, then it's just training, you know, walking with the ice axe along a wall and switching it over left and right, and actually making sure that you don't lose your ice axe, because that also happened before, you know. People lose their ice axe, they drop it, it falls down the mountain, and it actually gets dangerous for people that are lower down the mountain. So yeah, these are the basic skills that you'll learn doing a glacier course. How to use your crampons, how to walk in crampons, and how to use the ice axe and how to use it. So another skill you learn with the ice axe is actually if you go into, or you're facing an obstacle in the ice, in a wall that is a little bit steeper and you cannot climb the normal way. Your ice axe has a front part and a back part. It has either like a shovel on the backside or a hammer, depending on what exactly you're doing in the ice and what kind of climbing or mountaineering you're doing. But usually you have the shovel on the backside, and if there is a tricky crux that you have to climb and you cannot find a way, you can use actually the ice axe and create or build some steps into the wall, like a triangle shaped step, how you can put it into the wall, slam it into the wall. And you can learn that also in a glacier course, how to properly use the ice axe and how to build steps in a ice wall, so you can actually climb the wall and do maybe the lead climb, secure it for your team. And that already brings us to the next skill, what you also will have to learn. Maybe you learned already climbing with a harness, you know, when you do rock climbing, when you go rock climbing with a rope and with bolts and nuts and expresses, then you already learned how to put on your harness, how to deal with it, how you handle it, how you put it on, and how to actually secure the route if you're the lead climber, and how to pick up all the material if you're like climbing behind and you pick up all the material, you know. So maybe you already learned that, and if you haven't, well, in a glacier course they will teach you again how to put on a harness, how to have your your ropes, your prusiks, and everything on your harness. And yeah, how to rope up with other people. There's a lot of theories and strategies of how you can move in the ice, how you should walk on a glacier. 2 people connected on one rope, 3 people connected with a rope, 4, 5, 6, 7 people connected with a rope. The distance of how long the rope is depending if you are on difficult terrain, if you're on a glacier, if the rope should be loose, if the rope should be tight, how to move like simultaneously with the rope. This is all very theoretical and is best practiced while actually doing it, like roping up with a partner and walk together if you're just 2. If you want to be more secure, you always have a group of 3 or 4 people, because that way if someone is falling or falls into a crevasse or breaks into a snow bridge, the others can actually help them because you're roped up and you can pull your body out of the snow or out of the crevasse. So yeah, you learn how to put on the harness, you learn how to put on a rope and how to walk with a rope, how to handle the rope. And the next thing you then learn is how to rescue someone out of a crevasse, for example, or how to rescue someone that slipped, is maybe unconscious, or maybe they can still aid in the rescue. But this is the next thing you learn on a glacier course, on a glacier training, and it is quite important. So for example, let's say you're in a group of 4 with a rope, and the last member let's say falls into a crevasse, or the snow bridge breaks just when the last member went over the snow bridge. Usually the 3rd member will get dragged to the feet or on the bottom to the ground as well, and the other 2 are usually able to still stand up and hold the rest of the group, while the 4th person may be unconscious and cannot rescue themselves or cannot even aid in going up the crevasse again. So you will learn a technique how to actually get the weight from the last member fixated onto a T anchor. This is something that you do. You can hammer or slam a T anchor, like a T-shaped just like a T-shape into the snow, into the ice. And then you can put on in your ice axe, for example, and transfer the pressure and the weight of the rope over to the ice axe that is fixated in the ice. Or you can use an ice screw, screw it into the glacier, put the pressure and the weight from the rope on that screw, and actually then you're free from the weight of the last member, and you can get to the member, you can talk to them, you can help them and see if they're even conscious, if you can help them, or if they're unconscious. And you can figure out a strategy how to get them out, how to pull them out. It's a very, very, very important thing that you learn all these things. You have to train the eventualities. It's basically like a pilot. The most important things a pilot trains is actually what happens if one of the turbines is not working anymore. So they have a list how to react during an emergency. And this is also what you have to do when with mountaineering. You need, even though we don't want these things to happen, and they don't happen like every time, they just happen very rarely, but it's important that you know what to do when a situation like that actually happens or appears, because otherwise you may panic, you may act irrational, you may freak out or something, and that way you're not a help at all to the team, you're a burden, and you're risking the lives of everyone else. So it's important that you face the dangers beforehand, that you go through them, that you train them, that you practice them, that you read about them, that you know the theory and also the practical solutions of how to react, of how to act when an accident actually happens. And then the more you train, the more experienced you are, the more you will keep your calm, the more you're able to rescue yourself or your body. And this is extremely important, because let me tell you that if you go into the mountains, into the ice on the glacier, it's really serious business. And if you take it lightly, if you underestimate it, then I really have to tell you should not go there at all, because otherwise you're risking your life, you're risking the lives of others, and you will make your family and friends very, very sad if something happens to you, something irreversible. So please, don't underestimate nature, don't underestimate the ice. Train beforehand, before you go there. Learn the basics, learn the skills, learn how to use the equipment, and don't go on your own. Really, it's not recommended. You can get away with being lucky, but I think it's a bad advice to rely on your luck. Next thing would be to learn about the circumstances on the mountain. Avalanches are very, very common, and they happen quite often, and it's not a rare thing, and you have to be prepared. So there are a lot of techniques of how to identify if the avalanche risk is high or low. There are weather forecasts and reports that tell you how much snow was going down in the last days and the last weeks, how the temperature was up or low, and the snow was freezing, it's loose, or it's very stiff. There are a lot of indicators that you can research or check before you go on a trip, you go on a tour, and there are a lot of indicators that can tell you if there is an avalanche danger or not. But it's of course not 100%. Nothing is 100% safe in the mountains. There's always a little risk left, and therefore there are techniques to test the stability of the snow and the danger for avalanches right when you're there. And there's a technique where you can use your snow shovel, and you can press or compress the snow with your snow shovel with a certain amount of hits on the snow, and that way you can figure out how the compression of the snow actually is. It's very theoretical. Again, you cannot just do this in theory and go out there and wish for the best. No, you actually have to do it once with someone who knows the theory and knows the practical exercise, and do it together with them to actually get a feeling of how to do it and then how to interpret the result you get. So yeah, you can on the spot test the stability and the density of the snow, and then make a conclusion or make an interpretation if it's safe or not to continue going, or if the circumstances are not good and you should turn around because the danger of avalanches is way too high. This you will also learn in I guess you can learn that in a basic glacier course, but maybe you have to go to an advanced glacier course. Really take your time, don't be impatient, do that beforehand. It's very, very, very important. In the end, guys, come on, you don't want to die there, and make sure, really, I'm not joking about this at all. You can die up there. A lot of good people died up there in the mountains, in the snow, in an avalanche. So don't be the next one. Learn the skills before you go there. The next thing that is connected, I would say, to assessing the avalanche risk is to be able to read and interpret the weather. Weather can change quite fast in the mountains. You know, you will learn how to read the different cloud signs, how to read the wind speeds, the temperature, the pressure, if you are in a high pressure, low pressure environment. And there are techniques how to learn how to interpret the weather, how much time you have left or not, when to turn around. But then again, nothing is super safe in the mountains, as I said before. The weather circumstances can change quite fast, especially, for example, on a mountain like Elbrus. I've been on Elbrus last year in winter, and you know, it's between two big water masses, between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. So the weather changes quite fast depending on what's going on these masses of water. So it's very, very, very hard to predict for the weather forecast what will actually happen, how fast the wind speeds are, how cold it gets, how cloudy it will be, if it will snow or not. This is all just theoretical modeling and calculating and extrapolating, but no one can tell you for sure. No weather forecast can tell you for sure this is how it's gonna be. Maybe that's possible in 100 years when we have quantum computing all over the place and we know exactly everything about aerodynamics, but we are not there yet. So we just have rough estimates and they're still very, very, very unsecure, unsure. So yeah, having some experience, having the weather forecast, but also again on the spot when you're on the mountain, seeing the circumstances yourself, you have to decide if it's safe to go on or not. And I had to turn around the first time, for example, when I climbed on Mount Blanc as well. That's a different story, but on Elbrus, I remember I climbed solo from the north side. The weather was quite bad. It was very windy. I could have gone to the mountain, but could have been disastrous. So I had to turn around and yeah, try another time. And eventually I was able to summit Elbrus solo in winter, but not on the first try, but on the second try. But that way I still have all my 10 fingers. I still have all my 10 how do you say, toes, and yeah, I didn't risk too much. Excuse me. So yeah, this is another thing that you learn next to the avalanche interpretation, how to interpret the weather and the circumstances, the pressure. Yeah, this is extremely important and not to underestimate, because you know, it can be very windy and so cold up there. Even just sitting down for 15 minutes resting, people got unconscious, fell asleep, and they died in the ice, and their bodies still remain up there. Just recently happened on Elbrus. People went up there, the weather forecast was good, but then suddenly the wind picked up, the pressure dropped, the temperature fell, and the people got into a blizzard, and it was so cold that they actually lost all their body temperature. They got unconscious, and several people died on the mountain, which was very tragic and avoidable. And yeah, therefore guys, you hear it again, don't risk too much. Be very, very cautious when you go into the snow, when you go into the ice on a glacier. Make sure you learn your skills beforehand before you go there. Otherwise, death is an opportunity, okay? I'm not making this more dramatic than it is, because these are the rules up there, okay? There's just no way around it. It's the same with your driver's license. If you go into traffic, you need to know the rules there so you don't have an accident. Otherwise, it just ends up in a chaos, okay? All right. Yeah, it's just for your own safety. You're doing that for no one else, just for you and your own safety. And yeah, maybe for those guys that have to rescue you eventually, because they will have to risk their own lives to rescue you at the end. Once you've done the course, I don't know how long it took, maybe 3-4 days, maybe even a week, I don't know. And you learned the basics, you feel more comfortable. Usually when you do a course like that, they will have like a final mountain tour where they take you, or they go with you on a summit, and you learn all the basic skills that they teach you in the days before in an actual mountain climb. And therefore you get to put the new learned skills to the action, and you can actually try your learned skills directly at the mountain. And that's the best and ideal way, and this is how it happened for me. We went on the Mount Glacier, we walked on the glacier, we learned about the ice climbing with the ice axe, we were climbing walls, we learned to walk with the ice axes, we exercised and trained how to rescue someone from a crevasse, how to walk on a rope or with a rope together. And we trained that for quite a while, the whole day, 2 or 3 days in a row. And after that, we went to the summit, and then we used all the skills. We were 8 people, two groups of each 4 people connected with a rope, and we went up there. And then we were actually able to learn, okay, this happens if someone is walking faster than the other one, if someone is walking slower, if someone with a big span of legs, how do you say, yeah, just a bigger person with longer steps and a smaller person with smaller steps. Did I mix it up? What I wanted to say is a big person with bigger steps and a small person with smaller steps, and so on. How to coordinate that. Yeah, so you learn that all, and eventually you end up at the summit together successfully, and you had a great time and you learned a lot. And yeah, if you did that, then again, my suggestion would be do that more often, and yeah, do more tours of that, and get more tours and more summits under your belt, and just do a lot of tours in the ice with a group together, and have fun out there, and enjoy how beautiful it is to be on a glacier and on these snow-capped mountains. And yeah, after that, maybe there is very, very high altitude mountaineering. Maybe I'll explain that in another video. Let me think about it. But high altitude mountaineering would probably be then be 6,000 meters plus, 7,000, 8,000 meters. And I'll think about it if I'll make another video series about that as well. The next logical step would have been to go to the Alps, because I'm from Germany. I grow up here in Central Europe, and the next big playground is the Alps. But maybe you're from the US, you're from India, you're from Nepal or South America, or somewhere else on the world, and you have another mountain range. And then you have different circumstances. But for me, the next logical step was to go to the Alps, and there are quite some challenging mountain faces and summits in the Alps that you can climb with your new acquired skills. And really, from every skill range, there's everything there, from easy 4,000 mountains to let's say like the Breithorn, to super crazy intense mountains like the Eiger North Face. Yeah, you can have it all in the Alps, but I think it's the same in Canada, in America, or somewhere else on the world. So yeah, that would probably be the next step. Either you go into super high altitude mountaineering, 6,000 plus meters, or you go on super challenging routes, mixed rock and ice climbing, like the Grand Jurasse, the Petit Trou, Triolet North Face, Eiger North Face, Matterhorn North Face, you name it. Yeah. From there, once you learned the basics, how to move in the ice, how to move in the snow, you can decide where you want to go. If you want to focus on the mid-range mountain, let's say, or if you want to go higher and higher and higher. All right, that's it for this episode. I think I'm gonna stop here. Let me know if you want to know more about even more intense mountaineering after this episode, like how you climb more advanced mixed rock ice climbing mountains. Or if you would like to know more about very, very, very high altitude mountaineering that is above 6,000 meters plus, maybe in the Andes, maybe in the Karakoram mountain range, or in the Himalayas. Yeah, let me know. Super interested to hear and figure out what you guys are interested in. All right, I'm gonna go do my training and talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.